So, Jimmy, here we are at the popcorn counter.
My favorite place.
But we've been talking about war films lately.
Right.
I'm curious to know, would you like to know what my top three war films are, or would you like to start the conversation?
That's an amazing coincidence, because I have a list of my top 3 war movies here in front of me. That's incredible. How did that happen? I think you should kick us off. You can start with number 3, yeah?
I'll start with number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me is a German film that I saw a couple of times, and I love it. It's called Das Boot. You ever seen Das Boot?
I have never seen Das Boot. Now, there's a couple of cuts, aren't there? Isn't there like a 4-hour version of that movie?
I would never watch a 4-hour film, but if you can find a shorter version, do see Das Boot, because it's a submarine story, and it's really claustrophobic a lot of the time, and reminds me why I would never be a soldier and would never work on a submarine. But it's good filmmaking. There's just something very eerie about it and noir-like about it, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I highly recommend Das Boot.
It's Wolfgang Petersen, isn't that right? Is that right?
It is. Yeah.
And was there an English language remake?
I think there was, but yeah, The Boat. It might have been called just The Boat. I think that's what
creative.
Das Boot translates as, The Boat.
How did they come up with that? But I haven't seen either version, unless the English language remake was renamed to Hunt for Red October.
No.
No,
but
okay.
Could have been. Yeah, I mean, I think it is kind of, obviously it's another submarine film, but that's not one of my favorites. But Das Boot was lovely, and also just in terms of the lexicon that it brought to me was on the soccer pitch, on the football pitch, we used to, if we hit a really good strike with the ball, we'd say Das Boot, which we thought that was just hilariously funny. So we used to say Das Boot a lot if we were playing soccer.
You were right. That is hilariously funny, though. You're exactly right.
So that's my number 3. Do you want to go with your number 3?
Yeah, well, my number 3 has a 3 in the title. My number 3 favorite war movie is Three Kings.
Oh, yeah.
By David O. Russell.
Oh,
so, yeah, war is not just something that happened a long time ago, kids. So, yeah, incredible, amazing cast, actually.
Yeah.
Ice Cube, who's not often great on screen, but he's really good in this.
He is,
George Clooney, always so watchable. Spike Jonze.
Spike Jonze is in there,
And it's like a comedy thriller, caper, heist, anti-war movie about stealing Saddam's gold.
Yeah.
And it's a blast, but it's a blast with a proper serious message.
Yeah. Are you forgetting Mark?
Oh, God, he was in it as well, wasn't he?
He carries that film. He's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah.
It's David O. Russell, right? I mean,
that's right, David O. Russell.
He's a really interesting director, and that came fairly early in his career, and I like that film a lot. I didn't even think of that one. You stole that one from me. The Three Kings. Good job. All right.
Okay, well, impress me with your number 2 then.
I like the Robert Altman film MASH. I think that's just so kind of anti-war, but so it's so absurd, but at the same time it feels kind of real, because I think the hospital stuff is quite, you should watch it as a doctor yourself, but I mean, I think a lot of the hospital stuff seems very believable anyway, but it brings personality to soldiers that you don't normally see. It's not, then you get to see the comic side and the goofy side and a really human side, not the all pumped up testosterone side. So I really like that film. And then as a kid, I just watched the TV series. So I probably saw most of the TV series first, and then went back and saw the Altman film. And Altman's one of the... Yeah, go ahead.
I was aware of the TV series because it just seemed to be on endless repeat on British television, like in the early 80s.
Exactly.
And at the time, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand where they were or what they were doing. It was Korean War, wasn't it?
Yes.
For MASH. Yep. And because I sort of think, is this Vietnam? Is this the Second World War? I didn't really understand sort of where they were or what they were doing. Yep. And there seemed to be a lot of jokes I didn't understand as a boy as well. So it was utterly a closed book to me.
Oh,
but you're right. I would be interested to see some proper medical comedy from the Korean War, because that's an interesting bit of ground there.
Yeah. And Altman's such an interesting filmmaker. I mean, there are a lot of misses in his career, but some super hits, and I just really I liked his style. So I think it's a very different war film, and I liked it.
Right, I must track that down. Okay, well, my number 2, vastly more predictable. I feel I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but Apocalypse Now.
Oh, that's my number 1.
I can't believe I've stolen your number 1. Oh,
go for it. You've
got just enough time to wheel out a reserve. Now, I've seen it twice, and the first time I saw it, I just did not get it, and it seemed kind of a bit slow and plodding, and I didn't really understand the story. And I did read Heart of Darkness afterwards, and I think I've read Heart of Darkness 2 or 3 times before I kind of sort of quite got or understood that either. I've always found it a bit impenetrable. I find Conrad very difficult to read anyway. I have attempted to read Nostromo literally 4 times, I think. 4 times I said, right, I'm going to read it this time, and I've never got past about page 50. And I don't really know why. It's not even the prose isn't that difficult. It's just too clever for my brain. But the second time I watched Apocalypse Now, it was very, very late at night, and I stayed up sort of very late at night. That was the right time to see it, I think, when I was sort of just feeling like a little bit hazy and a little bit susceptible, and the whole psychedelic nature of the film really takes off when you watch it, when you can sort of only semi keep your eyes open. And that was a bit of a transformative experience, actually. So, remarkable film. Remarkable it got made at all. Yeah, exactly. It really was. So I saw the Redux. Have you ever seen that? It's Apocalypse Now Redux. I have not. Is that even longer?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, probably about 20 minutes or something.
Okay, right. Not massively longer.
Not massively longer. I saw it when I was living in London. They had it at the BFI, I think. So this is like 2008, 9, 10, somewhere in there. It's really interesting because there are a couple scenes that I think really capture some of the bizarre elements of imperialism and colonialism. Because there's this great scene where they're all eating at this French plantation, and there's wars going all around them, but these rich French people are just eating off of China in a hut. It's wild. It's a really nice scene, but it probably didn't, move the story that much farther, but it was part of that journey that was missing in the regular cut. So that's a director's cut kind of thing. But senior year of high school, my last year of high school, my English teacher had us reading Heart of Darkness. Sorry. Right. And then, it must have taken us a month to read it. And then we watched the film at least once. I'm not sure if we watched more than that, but it was long enough where it just occupied a week of my life. And it was great. So I think I just also have this nostalgia for that year, spring of my last month or so of high school, watching and reading the film and the book. And
have you taught Conrad since then?
No. I don't even know if I've read some short stories, I think, since then. But he definitely writes as if English is not his first language, which it is not. So he's got some convoluted sentence structure. So it's not easy reading, but I think the story is pretty good, and I think it's just a wonderful adaptation of that story. So I don't know if Ford Coppola did the adaptation himself, or if he had a writer come on that. I should take a quick look at that. When you are telling me about your number 1 film, why don't I do a tiny bit of research on it? Do your research.
Well, seeing as I gazumped your number 1, should I give my number 1, and then you can come back and gazump me back?
I'm going to come back with a terrible war film and a story. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure you'll be able to beat my number 1, which I'm going to probably disappoint you bitterly now. My number 1 war film is Captain America, the Marvel movie.
Interesting.
Which it's a kind of idealized reimagining of the Second World War as the way that it should have been. It captures that essential moral essence of the Second World War as being a universal fight against fascism. I think it's probably my favorite of the Marvel movies. I think Chris Evans does a great job as this kind of everyman Captain America. It fulfills every boy's fantasy about flicking a switch and becoming a 6'4" muscle man in a moment. But there's something about the character of Captain America and the character of the film, which has such moral certainty and moral authority, that I find the film is a little bit like kind of comfort food to me.
Oh, nice.
I like to follow a character who always makes the right choice. This is my wife doesn't really like Captain America at all, and she said, "Why do you like him? He's such a kind of a goody-goody." And I say, "Well, he always makes the right choice, and I like that." Yeah. Sometimes, a little bit of moral authority is like a comfort blanket that you can wrap around yourself. Maybe moral authority is also the breeding ground for fascism itself, but I think Captain America, good fun, a lot of kicking of Nazis. Who can complain?
Yeah. Captain America. It's not Captain England or anything like that. It's Captain America.
Captain America.
Moral authority. Yikes.
How times have changed.
Yes. Okay, I just want to talk about because we had the number one, number two in common. I'm going to talk about a terrible film that I saw when I was I think 8 years old.
Oh, good.
And this was the original Midway. I don't know if you know this film at all. I think it was remade recently, so it's interesting because we were talking about remaking crap films in a previous podcast. Midway had everybody. I mean, it was the like star-studded. Fonda was in there. James Coburn was in there. All sorts of actors.
It's the towering inferno of war movies.
Yeah, kind of. And we went to see it at the drive-in. I don't know if you even have drive-ins at... Are there any drive-ins in England? Or?
You know what? One opened up during COVID.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like about 10 miles away from where we are. Where we kind of think, oh my God, brilliant, drive-in. We can go out to the movies. And it turned out it was something like £70 per car to go and see a movie. And we thought, we're not doing that.
Yeah. So we had two drive-ins in my town when I was growing up, and there was this one night when we all bought our baseball gloves. My father bought his glove, and my brother and I had baseball gloves, and we went to the movie with my mother. All four of us are in there watching Midway, and I think it was a double feature, and it's awful. It's an actually awful, terrible film. And at the end of the film, as my father was driving away, he said, that film should be rated S for shit. And that has become family lore that we sometimes rate films, and I've never done this on the podcast, but maybe there will come a time when I rate a film
maybe
that
we
should. S for shit. And it was really terrible, but it's just one of these memories where it was so bad, there was laughter, and we had our baseball gloves, and we're throwing our balls into our gloves right there in the car, watching the whole scene. And it was, it's a really bad film. So I am tempted to go back and watch it now, of course, but I'm not going to recommend it to any of our listeners.
I do like the idea that you anticipated the film was bad by bringing a hobby with you when you went to watch it.
You have to have something to do in the car while you're watching.
So there we go. So that's 5 good films and one that's rated S.
All right, time to move away from the concession stand.
Right, let's get back to the proper meat. Into war, into action.
Into war.
Right, let's do it.
Tally-o.